So we are now talking about freeform micro-optics in automotive. And I would like to give you a little bit an overview of the agenda, very short. Huawei, what's the technology, why freeform, and then a little bit of outlook. So Huawei is just one slide. We are in at a beautiful lake of Neuchâtel in Switzerland here, doing refractive as well as diffractive micro-optics. We are part of this Swiss Microtech group. We have vast production facilities, clean room, more than 1,100 square meters, annual turnover 30 million, output per year 40,000 wafers. A lot of products, a lot of different products, and smaller and bigger customers, and around 150, I believe it's more employees. Okay, moving on. So technology. Maybe this is to remind you what micro-optics is about. It's making the optical elements smaller, which results in a different ratio between the imaging side and the optical size side, and that results in a much bigger depth of field with respect to macro optics, where you are always limited. You have to always adjust your focus to be to receive sharp images or to project sharp images. Micro optics is so small, it's the C2 value here is of the size of a few millimeters, that you are virtually very soon in infinity, and as you can see, the micro optical system is also much smaller. So both two advantages: much smaller optical system while having a much bigger depth of field. Now, one micro optic is not enough. At the very end, you want to project a lot of light, so you need many of them. Ideally, you arrange those in an array of identical or non-identical projectors. You have a typical arrangement, an LED, a collimator, and then the many micro projectors in front of it. On the right, you see an example of how that looks like. Typical sizes are 10 by 10 millimeters. Manufacturing, Jessica has already thankfully talked about that. So there are essentially two ways. This is by reactive ion etching. So you do lithography, you develop that resist, and then you start etching, and then you define lenses, typically aspherical lenses. You can do other things as well, but let's say your feature window, the products, the shapes you can obtain are more limited than what can be done via imprint, which is the second technology. I don't go into detail in this. Jessica has talked about that already. So here you need a master that is done by diverse methods, but obviously that master can have very different features and can be also very non-uniform, so that you can obtain different shapes at different locations, which would correspond to the picture right on the lower right side, where you can see an indication of having different lenses. You can also do stacking. You can have the dark blue stuff in the middle, those are metal masks. So you can put masks at different locations and achieve different effects. This is what the classical application looks like. It's a floor projection. So you have this micro lens array, 10 by 10 millimeters, and you use it to project a pattern on the road. As you can imagine, you can have variable shapes in the individual projectors, variable mask shapes. So you can kind of uniformize, homogenize the light distribution so that you get more light in the remote parts and less light in the near parts, which is obviously resulting in a relatively low efficiency for such an optical system. These are some examples of production models and show cars also. And what is coming up next is here, people have noticed that you can use those projections to increase safety, to kind of paint visual marks on the screen, on the road surface, so that other participants can detect those much easier and are warned regarding the future driving direction of the vehicle. We will get to that a little bit later. You can also use it for interior projections, but this is just for the sake of completeness. And the projection surface does not need to be flat, obviously. You can correct this with the deformation of the lens shape, but this is just for the sake of completeness. So the advantages of micro-optics in automotive is miniaturization of the optical system, sharpness, high depth of field, high efficiency. I was speaking of low efficiency, but we will get to that later. Functionality, you can have very diverse light distributions. You can do pretty much anything you like within certain limits. And you get a lot of freedom of design because you have modular construction, less weight, and maybe a room for more functions or for other functions. Freeform, why freeform now? Freeform is in automotive a technology that's known since the late 80s. Here you see a headlamp of a car that was one of the first freeform headlamps. What is freeform about it? It's the reflector. So it's no longer a parabolic or spherical or ellipsoidal reflector. It's freeform, and therefore you don't need any other features to guide the light. This is all you need to guide the light. Before you had these glasses on the left where the features were needed to distribute the light properly. Now, where could freeform micro-optics, freeform micro-lens arrays come in? I mentioned that before. Regulation is considering such distinctive elements to be projected on the road, which can be semi-dynamic, which will be very specific, only certain patterns will be allowed, and which are much brighter than the floor projections that you could see before. So you need to be much more careful what you do with the light, what you do with the input light. And there, freeform optics can help to already tailor light distribution into the micro lens array to get more light out. So there's a big opportunity for freeform micro optics to get much more efficient in this area of application. By the way, this is already very old, but in the interest of time, I will not go into detail here. A patent document in the 30s already describing some directional lighting that shows the driver where the car will drive. So you know whether you will hit an obstacle or not. Headlights, we have already two production headlights on the street, Lucid Air and Genesis G90, which is not on sale in Europe, as far as I know. And if you look at the construction of one of these headlamps, you see that it's a very compact optical module. Typical lens size here is like 15 millimeters. The multi-lens array that's featured here is somewhere 20 or 15 by 40 millimeters. So you don't need really macroscopic bulky objects and objectives or projection lenses to project the pattern. Rather, the pattern is produced by more than 2,000 individual micro-optical projectors. And since you can define each mask in each projector differently, you have significant freedom to generate different patterns or to match your patterns as you like, in combination with differently driving the light sources themselves. quick word on the efficiency. I think I have to come towards the end. So this is the efficiency after collimation. It's roughly 70% for a single or a triple LED arrangement behind the collimator lens. If we go further, and this is where freeform optics can also help, the light field that hits the mask is pre-shaped so that the mask is only cutting a very little light off, and you maintain most of the light distribution through the mask, through the projection system on the road. And after mask, the light distribution looks like this. And this is also what you get when you project on the road. So actually low beam, this is a typical European low beam distribution, can be pretty efficient using micro LED arrays. These efficiencies of 47 respectively 40% are very much in line with what you see using other optical methods, even higher. So what do we have to expect in the future? I already mentioned road projections for safety. So these are some of the patterns that are under discussion. This can be static, but this can also be semi-dynamic. So you could kind of think of these chevrons appearing one after the other. But all of this can be done very nicely with micro-optics. And if those micro-optic lenses are freeform lenses, then this will help the clarity of the pattern, the efficiency, the brightness of the pattern, and therefore help improving the safety on the road. What's more, another trend is ultra slim headlights. You see that more and more on the street. Right now, most often these slim features are represented by the daytime running lamp, but in the future this could also be done by full headlamps realized with micro-optical elements, very shallow, very thin headlamp signatures. And that is actually what car manufacturers prefer. They want to have a daytime and a nighttime appearance that is identical to enable better brand recognition of their cars. So freeform micro-optics can enable never before possible styling options. And with this, I conclude what and why freeform micro-optics in automotive. You can increase design flexibility. You enable novel functions such as the safety road projections, higher efficacy, higher optical efficiency solutions, and with that higher value and ultimately never before possible styling options. Thank you.